Reese, I'll let you go ahead and start this one off.
Well, I mean, overtime loss, tough one. Pretty poor performance by the Bears overall. Defense looked okay. Offense, it's the same as usual, except in just a much different fashion today. They started off okay, but man, I mean, it's just tough. It's a tough way to lose. And, you feel like they had their chance to go out there and win it. I mean, they had their drive in overtime, so you can't really complain about the fact that the Saints got the ball first and still couldn't do anything with it. Offensive line, not nearly good enough. They're getting banged up. Foles is just not mobile enough for that bad of an offensive line. I think that's basically what we really learned today.
If this team did not have an elite defense, like one of the best defenses of all time, over the past 3 years, we would be the Jets, okay? We would be the Jets, and we have to get over that because this team's offense is horrible. Horrible. We held the Saints to 23 points, okay? Holding Drew Brees to 23 points should be good enough for even some of the worst offenses in the NFL to get the job done. But the Bears can't score 23 points. They can only score... or they can't score over 23 points. They can only score up to 23 points. And that seems to be the consistent thing. Yeah, Nick Foles, go ahead, put up 20 points a game. Not going to help us against good teams.
Yeah, and it's frustrating too because honestly, I thought they were going to blow it. I didn't even know they were going to get the game-tying field goal, which by the way was a great kick by Cairo Santos. It's a windy as hell day here in Chicago. I know you don't really know that, Austin, being out there in sunny LA, but it's been windy out here. It's a brutal day. It's a tough day to kick. He hit a big-time kick there. But man, before that, what was that run by Matt Nagy when they were really flowing off the pass and they give it to Montgomery? I mean, man, I feel bad for Montgomery because he's running into a brick wall, and they constantly showed it during the game. But man, oh man, What are we doing running it late with everything on the line? And you only had one timeout at that point too. What is going on? Sometimes the decision making, I can't even begin to fathom what is going through Nagy's head.
Statistically speaking, one of the worst plays that you can run in the NFL is second and long. Running on second and long. That is one of the worst statistical plays you could possibly run in the league, in college football, in the NFL, wherever you want to go. It's one of the worst statistical plays. We ran it 3 times today. 3 times. We ran the worst statistical play 3 times. So when you get Nick Foles, yeah, we can say all we want about Nick Foles. He had a bunch of bad passes, right? He had that good pass to Darnell Mooney. A lot of bad passes, though, right? Okay, cool. He's not having great passes. But the other thing is that we're not putting him in position to be making the good passes. You look at how he played in Philadelphia. I mean, they did a really good job of, killing teams with paper cuts, getting good, safe completions, just moving the ball, maybe not, and then finally striking with a deep play or 1 or 2 a game. That was all they needed. That's how they beat Tom Brady. That's how they were able to stick around in the playoffs quite a bit. Matt Nagy cannot even get Nick Foles to have as many touchdowns in a game as what he averaged with the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. Think about how pathetic that is. A team that had a worse offensive line. And we can complain about the offensive line. Yeah, today we had a ton of injuries, right? We had only like 1 or 2 of our starting offensive linemen. That's horrible, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Matt Nagy has done nothing to put this team into a position to win. Nothing. And then there's tons of plays where it's just mindlessly dumb mistakes. Javon Wims, you say what you want to. Obviously, he had a big fight. We don't know what was said to him. We don't know what that is. Obviously, dumb move. But talk about the other dumb plays. Multiple drops by multiple receivers throughout the entire game. I mean, that's just showing that this is a team that's lacking the details. And that's what Matt Nagy always likes to do, right? He always likes to go on the press conference and say, oh, yeah, we're just fine-tuning some of the details. Bro, you've been doing it for 3 years. You've been on this team for 3 years. Anthony Miller doesn't know the details when you've been coaching him for 3 years in your offense? What do you mean? What do you mean it's the details? The details should already be set in place. Okay, what this is a complete incompetency when it comes to play calling. Matt Nagy gets called an offensive genius. Call him an offensive genius all you want. He does have good play design. Okay, he does have good play design. A lot of his plays are very creative. He knows how to build plays off of each other, but he is mindless, absolutely mindless when it comes to actually being able to situationally play call. And he is so lucky that our defense has potentially multiple future Hall of Famers on it. Because otherwise, this team would be a laughing stock. This team would be a laughing stock. And it is a laughing stock right now because it's a great team. It has a great defense. Hell, on offense, we have plenty of weapons. Okay, you look across the NFL. Sure, we might not have, like a Tyreek Hill. We don't have a Tyreek Hill. Darnell Mooney, he's good enough, though. We have Allen Robinson. We have a number one wide receiver. We have a good running back. David Montgomery is leading the NFL in missed tackles. He's doing a lot. We have the exact offensive line that this team wanted to have, right? We had cap space. We chose willingly not to use it. Quentin Spain came on the market just earlier 2 weeks ago. We chose not to sign him. And you struggled to score a couple touchdowns a game? I know Nick Foles' stat line probably didn't look horrible this game. I think 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, but the quarterback play has not been good. The offensive line play has been horrible. Nick Foles needs to learn how to throw the ball away because clearly he does not understand how to do that. We potentially could have scored at the end of regulation if he would have just thrown the damn ball away. We won't get into that. But Matt Nagy, he needs to go. Ryan Pace, I like Ryan Pace. I think he's really good at acquiring a talented team. I think that we need somebody that can actually understand how to use the talent. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. We made such a big deal about John Fox. John Fox doesn't know how to run an offense. John Fox doesn't know how to do this. John Fox is so old school. John Fox has had better offenses than what Matt Nagy has had these past 2 years. If we want to be honest with each other right now.
That's despicable. Based off of the offensive personnel that you've had, that's despicable. That cannot be the truth, That just can't happen.
The only thing that's different between Matt Nagy and John Fox is the fact that Ryan Pace was actually able to fully complete his rebuild. Sure, John Fox, he didn't make the losing look all that spectacular the way that, Matt Nagy might be able to do. But if you look at the statistics as to where these offenses rank, there is very minimal to no upgrade when it comes from outside of 2018 with Matt Nagy. And I just want to know what happened. In 2018, Matt Nagy made some very good play calls. He made some, quite frankly, amazing route designs. We had amazing games. Mitchell Trubisky threw 5 touchdowns in 1 half. Okay? Someone who's a laughingstock in the NFL, 5 touchdowns in 1 half. We probably should have won the playoff game versus the Eagles. But at the end of the day, what do we do? What happens? The team completely loses its mind without having really any significant downgrade in personnel. Sure, the offensive line is worse statistically, but personnel-wise, the offense is better.
Yeah, and you want to know something? I was actually inspired at the beginning of this game. When they put Trubisky off that little kind of wildcat package at some point, I was like, you know what? I was going to tip my hat to Nagy and be like, he did something good, He helped discover something that's a weakness in the offense, and he has a member of the team that can help fix that in Trubisky, and he incorporated it a little bit. But the problem is he never came back to it. He used it once, and he never came back to it. There's never any more wrinkles. He's not really setting up any of these plays. It's kind of just mindlessly going through it. I think he has his core route of plays that he likes to call, and then he has his few kind of trick plays that he'll call each game, and one of them might be successful. One of the poorly timed ones, what was that little shovel pass to Anthony Miller with the little fake misdirection? That was
went backwards
so
4 yards.
Yeah. And this is an offense that cannot afford to be behind the chains at any point. You can't be doing stupid things out in the backfield or running the toss to Montgomery on the short side of the field. Why is this something that is characteristic of Nagy for his 3 years is running horizontal running plays, tosses, sweeps to the short side of the field where they can just easily get pinched off? I don't understand.
I would really love to see if we could bring on some sort of statistician, to work. Not statistician, but an amateur statistician to work for us, because I would love to get some numbers exactly on this. But I mean, Matt Nagy, I would really like to know how many of his plays, what percentage go behind the yard of scrimmage. And I would also like to know what percentage of second and long or third and long plays go behind the yard of scrimmage or line of scrimmage, because it's a lot of them. It is a lot of them, and it is indefensible. Now, here's the thing with Matt Nagy. I was inspired at the beginning of this game too. Foles came out. It looked like he had control of the offense. He was making some good decisions. Things were working. But as you said, the thing with this offense is everything needs to go perfectly. You can't have Javon Wims throwing a punch and then going back 15 yards and needing to fix that, right? You can't have that, right? You can't have players dropping the ball, because guess what? If one thing goes wrong, they're not going to convert the third down, or they're not going to convert at all, right? So at the end of the day, Matt Nagy, his real issue is that he does not know how to coach. I'm gonna give this to Matt Nagy. I think that we don't know. I think when he has an offensive line, and he has a decent quarterback, and when he has good weapons around him, I think he knows how to play call. Okay, I think he is competent. I think we saw it with the Chiefs. Okay offense, above average offensive line, great weapons. At the time, Alex Smith was the quarterback, so good quarterback. I mean, above average quarterback, let's say. Yeah. At the time, he was in the MVP race that year. So let's remember that. Okay. Okay quarterback, good quarterback, better than Nick Foles at the time, for sure, at least. Okay. But when he does not have that, all this quote-unquote variability that he likes to put in the playbook just looks like absolute incompetence, and it makes it look so silly. He needs to learn how to just not make things so difficult on the team. And even the announcers are watching this game, they're going, yeah, the one thing, if I was Matt Nagy, that I would try to do is try to incorporate some speed into this offense. Try to get them hustle to the line a little bit quicker. Try to move the ball with a little bit more momentum and tempo.
It doesn't take much to see it. It really doesn't take much to see it.
It's as if everybody besides Matt Nagy himself understands what is wrong with this team. It's almost as if, oh my God, every single, on Instagram, all these people have these little fan pages and stuff. All these, I'm sure they're like 11, 10, 12 years old, maybe a little bit older for some of them, but even they're like, hey, Matt Nagy, maybe sign an offensive lineman so we're not down 3 of our starting offensive linemen. Maybe that would be a good idea, Matt Nagy. And Matt Nagy, what does he do? He has those blinders on. I think he might be pulling a little bit of a Mitch Trubisky, 0 Dark 10 or whatever that was called. He has those blinders on. He's not listening. He doesn't care. Hey, I don't get it, man. And I truthfully don't believe this team will achieve anything until one of two things happens. Matt Nagy is gone, or they stumble upon a quarterback.
Yeah, you want to know something else that bothers me about this game? And not to invalidate what you just said, because, you make very good points about the long-term future of this team. But where's the urgency? Just prior today, the Packers took the L to the Minnesota Vikings and went down to 5-2. It was a perfect opportunity to go to 6-2 and get right back in the driver's seat. It would have really negated what the loss against the Rams did to this team. It would have been huge, And then there's no urgency. They come out flat. The defense always has energy, and I feel like I really don't need to speak to that. But the offense is always so mundane, and maybe some of that does go with the speed too. But it's so mundane, and it just looks, it's a standing around waiting. No one's getting fired up. It's just like, where is the personality on this team? All other great teams in this league, they got someone, not just someone, most of their teams fired up when they do something great, And then it's just like the Bears, it's just, they're going through the motions, and
hold on one second. And will you believe, this kind of off topic, but I just thought about this. Will you believe this team has not drafted a single quarterback in the past 3 years? But continue on.
Of course not. Of course not. How can you believe that? And it goes to this team. I'll go back to your question. This team truly won't be anything until they can really get some true stability at quarterback and find someone that is at least inspiring. It really doesn't take much to have a young quarterback that's inspiring and makes and gives you a little bit of hope. But the refusal to go through a proper quarterback development, and maybe some of this falls on Nagy. I'm not sure where it comes on because we saw it fail with Trubisky. And there's a lot of lack of adaptability to Trubisky's style of game and his strengths that weren't played to. So it just makes me fear that, ultimately, right, the coaching change needs to happen because I think, we need a coaching staff that's going to foster that development of a quarterback a lot better than Matt Nagy. You can't, refuse to burn another quarterback, a young quarterback, and expect it to be okay because once you do that, look at the cycle we got ourselves in now. I mean, we gave Mitch a couple of years to try to figure out and see if he was going to be good. And then now we're kind of in this limbo period where we have Foles, who's playing quarterback, and we benched, Trubisky, and now we're looking for someone else. But, the team really has no clear direction. They really, they lack that direction. They lack that leader. I think that's obvious that there's really a strong sense of leadership missing on that offensive side of the ball.
And if, I'm going to go ahead and be honest with all of our fans here. I know there's the funny thing about Bears fans is I feel like sometimes Bears fans are more negative about their team than all of the rest of the national media in the NFL. But on the other hand, some are very positive. So I know I'm going to upset some people about this right now. But the Bears right now are in no position to be trying to make a run at the Super Bowl. Okay. This team is riddled with offensive ineptitude. Go ahead. Find me the last time that a team that had an absolutely god-awful offense won the Super Bowl. And the one team that people might point to, the Denver Broncos did it that one year, right? Or Nick Foles, he did it with the Eagles, right? Go ahead and I urge everyone to go ahead and check out the offensive statistics on both of those teams. They were awful by Super Bowl terms. They're not awful by Bears terms, okay? And that type of offense on the Bears' perspective would be a huge step up from what we're at right now. So I'm gonna lay it out. I'm gonna lay it out to everybody right now. The Bears should not want to win games right now. The Bears should want to find a quarterback in the draft, and they should absolutely right now. We were just talking about a couple weeks ago. Could the Bears go to the Super Bowl? Will Ryan Pace sign Quentin Spain? Will he, at the trade line, try to, reel and deal, try to get some players in the building? The Bears need to be selling right now. The Bears need to find a couple players that they can live without because guess what? We are not going to win a championship with this current iteration of the team. And with that in mind, everything else is useless. And what the Chicago Bears need to do this year is they need to prevent the mistake that they had with Trubisky from happening again to whichever quarterback we draft next. And they need to get a head coach in the building before they draft the quarterback. So Matt Nagy needs to go. You need to find a new head coach.
Definitely. And oh, man, I had something in my mind. Oh, my goodness. I completely lost it. I can't remember what I was going to say. But I had this one good point. But whatever, and anyways, yes, they do need to restart and build back. I mean, what are you accomplishing with this team? And I just remember what I was going to say. If we're being real with ourselves, Allen Robinson should be traded.
Allen Robinson. Okay, people want to say Allen Robinson is a number one wide receiver. You know what? I watched Devontae Adams today in a Packers loss against the Vikings, put up 3 touchdowns. Where was Allen Robinson today? He had a couple good catches, but was that a number one wide receiver performance? I think Allen Robinson's a good wide receiver. Don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. But you want to say that we should pay this man $20 million a year, $18, $19 million a year? Over the past couple of games, the games where we needed him the most, he's been non-existent. Darnell Mooney has shown up more than him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, especially when it matters, too. And I think Allen Robinson, top 10, top 15 receiver in the league. But I think kind of the tier where he's
replaceable.
There's a significant leap up to the actual elite wide receivers in the league. If we're talking about the D Hops, all those that names that always kind of were around for who's the best receiver in the league. I think Allen Robinson's and the tier below that, but there's a significant leap up to that, and he's not someone that's really gonna command the game, and like you said, not really someone that's gonna necessarily put the ball in the end zone for you all the time. He's not gonna be a touchdown machine. And honestly, what are you doing if you're gonna extend him? you're extending him because you think you're going to be a contender, but are you really that? Are you just lying to yourself? Honestly, you should trade him away, and then that way you don't have to extend him and you can get something back for him. I mean, like you said, it's time that this team really starts taking a look into the future because, I mean, these two losses back-to-back hurt, but I think it's a slap in the face with the reality. It's kind of like, well, this team right now, yeah, they can't do it. They can't do it.
And if you want me to talk about the true reality, and I know this is going to be very unpopular again, but I mean, if you can get a first-round pick for Allen Robinson and a first-round pick for Kyle Fuller, you ship them out. Absolutely, you ship them out. Even if you can almost get a high second-round pick for Allen Robinson, you ship those two players out because honestly, we need as much as we can. The Bears need to do one of two things. Yeah, maybe they don't go complete on this offense, complete rebuild. Maybe they decide to go for Dak Prescott or try to find a free agent quarterback next year. If that happens, hanging on to our pieces makes a little bit more sense, right? Truth of the matter is if we draft a quarterback, by the time we're ready to contend again, Khalil Mack's going to be like 33. Akeem Hicks is going to be like 34. A lot of these defensive pieces, they're probably not going to be the reason why we win the Super Bowl, if we do. And it's sad to say, but Matt Nagy, he could quite frankly have wasted one of the best defenses that we have seen as Bears fans. Definitely the best defenses I've seen in my lifetime. I know that's kind of a hot take here, but these are the best Bears defenses I've seen in my lifetime. And it's really, really sad to see. And I will always have this question. If we, and people want to throw out the Patrick Mahomes thing, sure. Patrick Mahomes, we could have had him, whatever. That's an old storyline. There's also 32 other teams that could have traded their entire draft for him as well. No one knew what he was going to turn out to be. But at the end of the day, I will always wonder if we had a different head coach, if Mitchell Trubisky could have turned out. Because what's going on right now, we can say, and this is exactly what we hit on this summer. People wanted to blame Mitchell Trubisky for every single thing that was wrong with the offense. Oh my God, the offense sucks. We're 29th in the NFL. It has to be Mitchell Trubisky. It has to be our quarterback. That has to be the issue, right? Okay, bring in Super Bowl winner Nick Foles. Sure, he's not the best starter. Couldn't really find, a long-term starting spot, but someone who was, considered better than Mitchell Trubisky. Was Mitchell Trubisky that bad, or was Matt Nagy just that incompetent?
Yeah, it begs the question, right? It begs the question at this point.
Because I remember
we won't truly ever know the answer, but I mean,
well, we could. I mean, imagine if he goes to another team, balls out. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that is, if that happened, I mean, that'd be a huge slap in the face to us.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and it could happen. I mean, like I said, coaching not with the strengths of your players is a huge concern, and so many other concerns going into next week. Oh man, I don't know. I think that probably not going to get much positive talk out of us, no matter how much we sit here and talk about them. I think this loss was a tough one to get over, and it's going to be a tough one to get over all week, I think.
Yeah, and I think really the funny thing is that they came out pretty hot. They were leading by 10 points. At one point, it looked like we might have an opportunity to go up by 17 points. Then, Matt Nagy just became Matt Nagy. The Saints ended up with a 10-point lead. We overcome that. We bring it back. And, just complete ineptitude, players dropping the ball, issues happening. And I know that whole Cole Kmet, forward progress was ruled, but I have to say, if I was a Saints fan, I probably would have been pretty mad with that call. I mean, they didn't blow the whistle, so. But, at the end of the day, this team needs to, Ryan Pace, over the next week or so, that he needs to really think about where this team is at and where we're at. Because I know we're sitting here 5-3, but, moving some pieces, trying to, change the dynamic of the team.
We're 5-3, but we don't deserve to be 5-3.
We're 5-3.
That.
We could, if the ball bounced the different way a couple times, this could be a 2-win team. This could absolutely be a 2-win team.
And the way they look, you would believe it too. That's what the eye test would tell you.
Yeah, I mean, people, Bears fans are like, oh, haha, the Jets are so bad. Yeah, well, our offense is right there with them, fellas. Especially now with all these backups we got out there, and the fact that our GM doesn't want to add any more pieces. I don't know whose decision in the building is to go ahead and stick with Rashad Coward, but he is awful. He is horrible. Well, actually terrible. So, yeah, I mean, is there much else to say? I know we didn't talk about the actual game that much. We kind of ended up just talking about the actual wide view of what occurs. And at the end of the day, yes, we lost in overtime by a field goal. But, I mean, the greater point is not that we lost this game. And I feel like a lot of Bears fans like to be like, oh, the game was so close. All these things could happen. We can be better. And, yeah, this team could be better than what showed up today. But the ceiling on this team is extremely low. We are, at best, a B-grade playoff team. And we are hopefully what happens is we either something clicks and we just are able to ride out the wave and actually do something in the playoffs. But the two likely scenarios is that we either become a B-grade playoff team, we get bounced in the first or second round, okay? We're not real contenders. We're the team that people want to play. And then or the other option is that we actually take some of our advice and start looking towards the future, potentially moving some pieces, and then actually be able to put us in striking range of a solid quarterback. I mean, we have, in this draft, there's 3 really good quarterbacks. And then after that, Jamie Newman, he's a good quarterback. We don't know a lot about him. He still has some issues. But there's 3 solid quarterbacks right now. We have to be putting ourselves in the position to have that accessible to us.
Yeah, have to be. That's the main thing. But we've been calling for this for how long now, and I'm excited for the day that we eventually get it.
I suggest every single person to go ahead and check out our podcast from the summer, because I feel like we were spot on from the get-go. Like, this team, they're gonna win a good amount of games, but that doesn't mean they're a good team.
Bear down to that, right?
Yeah, bear down, guys. We'll be coming back at you guys on Tuesday. If you're listening via YouTube, we're sorry that this is a very negative episode, but I think we had to dish out a dose of reality for where this team is at, from what we need to be considering. And I still think in a couple of years this team can be a great team. It's got a lot of young talent still. This defense is still stacked across the board. Eddie Jackson's young. Khalil Mack is young enough. There's some good free agent quarterbacks coming up in the future years. But for this year, sorry to let you guys know, but this Bears team ain't very good.
Yeah. And we need to remember, if you're not first or last, if you're not lifting the trophy, then it don't matter. So, there's no reason to play around and be mediocre.
Only chance we got is if Aaron Rodgers joins us next year, but I guess we'll have to see if that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you again Tuesday, hopefully with a little bit more positive outlook. So bear down, guys.
Bear down.